might be able to actually be there. We're gonna see. This, just so you know, this little ad right here actually says, it's not actually necessarily a campaign for myself, it's about organizing the Republican Party and taking back control from DSA in this neighborhood. Anyways, I'm just gonna get to the title says, what is it? Something about aggression is caused by insecurity. And we're gonna talk about that for a second. So the thing is that I have to admit, I'm a super aggressive person. I am. This is true. And that's because when I show up, right, I feel no sense of security that the job's going to be done right. I feel no sense of security that things are necessarily going to happen my way. I'm going to make sure, especially for certain things that I think are critical. So the thing is, right, if I don't really care, right, then I won't really get that aggressive about it because if I lose it, who cares, right? Anyways, we're out here, so let's talk about this, right? The thing is that if I take a look at being like Republican versus Democrat, right? And we can talk about the other third party stuff like that. Those places have been completely and 100% compromised. Okay, I just want people to know that. Anyways, this one is really been posted up hard. We're gonna do it too. We're on the black now. Anyways, yeah. So, wait, is this working? Okay. So yeah, like I said, I feel a lot of insecurity, so I make sure things get done over here. So the thing is that if we take a look at the Republicans in this district, right? Yeah, they should be very right. We got Tiffany Caban, and I know about Tiffany Caban. She's not really helpful. She helps her little club of friends. And you know what? If she really did what she said she's about, then I respect that. That's actually one thing, just so you know. Just want to say that I actually respect about Mamdani, right? Yeah, versus the other ones, right? Yeah. Mamdani I think believes this stuff. And he's actually, doing... That's probably one of the reasons why he's successful in some ways, but remember also they started the mayoral race with only like 2% or something, that really, really low. So the thing is, it's just not as simple as people think. Really, that whole DSA movement has been building the ground base. That's why. It really wasn't war on that one. It's the years of work from the organizers on the ground that was able to cycle through and push through a Mamdani. Yeah? Now, the thing is that the consultants out there that's making a lot of money off of this particular situation, they want to portray something different. Because they're keeping the narrative on one thing. They don't really adapt, you know what I mean? The thing is that people on the streets, we have to see the truth, because if we don't eat, right? So it's not like marketing hype is behind us, and maybe we're doing it on our own, and maybe we're not, right? It's like you're either doing it or you're not. That's just a fact. And either the results, you see them or you don't. And that day you either eat or you don't. It's just that simple, right? So, anyways, we're out here. I don't think that that's gonna survive very long, that little fly right there. But we're just gonna keep walking around, keep putting it back down the way that we are wont to do. And that's just how we're gonna get down. We're also gonna do all by the grocery stores. Now let's talk about aggression and security for a second now. Technically, right, and I can't even blame 100%, right? The thing is that I'm posting where I am right now. And right after this, DSA, right after they see that I'm doing this stuff on a regular basis, they're going to figure it out, and they're going to start sending their people out to rip it down. Or it doesn't even have to be them like on an organized basis. It'll just be fans of their organization, right? And my team may also be doing the same thing, right? Whether I could even tell them don't do it, right? Yeah? And people that just think that they want to do whatever will engage in... Oh, we dropped the phone, but look, we didn't turn it off. Yeah, they'll engage in these kinds of activities. Anyways, look, I gotta be, I can't make this forever. So, folks, okay, really tell you the truth, this stuff over here that you're seeing, like me hang up these signs in here, this is not really the work, okay? This over here is just me building brand name recognition to get people to show up and like to eventually. But really, I'm trying to train them to do is to empower themselves, right? So we'll see if this can actually happen. Anyways, putting these up by the train station definitely seems like a good place to put these kinds of things. And anything else I got to say? Well, look, folks. The fact of the matter is that most people are not going to actually, once again, to come back to the idea of aggression versus insecurity, right? The fact of the matter is that people that are insecure, like the Republicans, right, particularly Kaban in space, should be more aggressive about going to the polls. So even though, right, like, you also have to realize that as a candidate now, I'm going to see things through a certain lens that's all warped from being in the perspective of things running for office. To tell you the truth, I would say maybe 90% of the people don't even give a rat's ass. They're just, they don't even care, right? I'm not that different from the other guy or gal or whatever, right? It's just, they don't care. And that's a fact. And they don't really see government or action as a way to actually get things done. And what can I say that I've really achieved, right? Once again, that's not a bad question. That's a real question. That's a question for myself right there. We're going to talk about that. Well, I have some cool experiences, you know what I mean? I definitely enjoyed working with the longest president in New York State history. And if I call him right, I can get him to show up for something. He will show up for me. So that's pretty cool. But other than that, really, right, like, unfortunately, my dude, like, even though he'll show up for me, I can't really say that I really... The results haven't been there. I did have a town hall with, the Republican candidate for Attorney General, right? That was, was it Attorney General? No, District Attorney, right? That would be Maud Merritt. Just on the note of being one of the first actually Korean Americans to run for this, in this district, right? The first one in history. And one of the first Korean Americans, Ron Kim has run before. But there's not a lot of Korean Americans in history that have run for state level office here in New York City, right? There's quite a bit at the city level, just city council, right? But maybe first 10 or something, maybe possible, maybe not, right? Yeah. Anyways, maybe top 20 probably for sure. We're gonna see. Anyways, give me a second. Sorry, folks. I'm just doing two things at once. Doing both of them pretty poorly. This is that's the reality. So back to talk about the Korea thing, right? Yeah. Okay. Right now, you can see that Long Island City is actually a large Asian American district, mostly Chinese American, to tell you the truth. And I do want to kind of be an early mover into this space, right? One of the first, actually, I would say more significant would be Julie Won, who actually ran for Congress, and I think along with Chuck Park is the first Korean American run for Congress in maybe even U.S. history, right? So that's for New York, right? I mean, for New York history and U.S. history, but New York. So my race of state assembly is much smaller and much less significant. So it'll probably be, but just maybe I just documented it more, so it will be more captured in anyways. Julie won. There are some questions and controversies regarding, and I'm not going to even get into that here because honestly, this is about me. Yeah. All right. So, anyways, Julie has been nice to me, and I think that in some ways, I understand the choices that she made. We're going to leave it at that, right? I just don't want to leave it on. There's controversies and end like that, right? Leave it on a positive note and be supportive of the Korean Americans because she does some cool things. I think she's very well vocal. But let's go on to talk about this campaign and what's going on here. So the thing is that right now we want to build something called brand recognition. I'm actually have a friend of mine sending me some data, right? And they're actually sending me the information. And the thing is that within my click right here, we're going to open source some of this data, right? But it's very possible that the ones who are first going to try to grab this data, the ones who will grab it most passionately, will be the ones who try to unseat me. This is only natural. okay? It may be successful. But in the end, the way that I protect myself in this case is to make it a grassroots organization, because then it doesn't matter, right? And, but you can see that really, it's also dangerous because the mass of the district may not actually agree with some of the things that I might prioritize, right? Including my own issues, right? Which includes, unfortunately, Jeff Epstein type stuff going on in the anti-war movement. That's right, folks. Even though, let's be real, right? People right now could be demanding to hear from the victims of the Epstein case. They're not. They're willing to listen to the same old producers, the same old news people who are desperately trying to move the topic onto another subject and never talk to actual victims themselves. This is not the fault of, like, we want Epstein, blah, blah, blah. Our society just doesn't have the appetite to really chase down the justice like that, like the victims do. It's just a fact. So, right? So, back to the title of the topic where it says insecurity breeds aggression. The thing is that sometimes when people feel insecure, they're actually trained to not react, to not become aggressive, to become passive, in fact. And, meditate or go and take your stress out somewhere else, stuff like that, and they're not acting aggressively at all. But that's not really what I'm looking for. I'm looking for doers, right? Not for, sometimes they call it paralysis by analysis, all right? I'm not looking for those types. I'm looking for the get up and go people. So DSA has a lot of these people, and props to them for that. I saw a bunch of people sweep in for a second. If anybody has any questions, let me see if I can, for some reason I'm on an effects panel in this thing. Okay, any chat? Okay. Look, I'll do this daily, so I don't really want to, overburden these whole series. And I have a lot of other things to say, so, but I'll have plenty of time if I'm doing this every day to talk about it. So I'm gonna try to keep it interesting. Hope you guys think about what I said. And yeah, we're gonna just keep putting these things up, getting a better, by looking at the neighborhood. Another thing that's happening for me is, right, I'm starting to learn where the signs stay up, right? This is stuff I didn't really pay attention to before, but it's really a new way. People want to take all these trips all around the world, blah, 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 right? They want to go travel. You can travel within your own locale, right? Yeah? You just have to shift up your perspective. So really, this is the secret world of the elf. You know what I mean? Sometimes if you're tuned in to different frequencies, you can catch a whole different station, even though that same thing bouncing all over the place. You know what I mean? So every station is like the air right now, right? But it depends on what I'm tuned into.